Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is Dawn of War, a Warhammer channel dedicated to all things Warhammer, but particularly Warhammer 40,000. It is Sunday night, and so as is custom, I will be going through the pre-orders that have just been announced this evening. And I'm sure you know already, but what happens is every Sunday afternoon at 6 p.m, Games Workshop release on their Warhammer community site an article which details all the releases that will be going on pre-order the following Saturday. So next Saturday, which will be, when is that? The 28th actually. So these following products I'm about to talk about and run through will be going on pre-order on the 28th of June. And these days there's a 2-week pre-order window, so you'll be able to pick them up 2 weeks later. Let's just check the calendar again, and that will be the 12th of July. So you'll be able to get your hands on these products on the 12th of July. But if you want any of them, I suggest getting on the GW website or a website of any friendly local gaming store or third-party supplier. I recommend Hobby Workshop, Gaming Figures, Element Games and Dark Sphere. Those and also I always forget to mention them, but they're very good. Alchemist Workshop. I don't have any affiliations with any of those, of course, just with my tiny channel, but I've used all of those and many others in the past, and those are the best shops that I've found so far. Never let me down. Particularly Hobby Workshop and Gaming Figures are really, really reliable if you want to add to your armies. So but as I say, I recommend doing that pretty early, sort of 10 a.m. next Saturday, because this is a big release week, and it wouldn't surprise me if quite a lot of this stuff sells out pretty quickly. So it's the one we've been waiting for really over the past few weeks, ever since we knew about the Space Wolves getting a range refresh, and of course the whole range was leaked. And then there was that article, wasn't there, focusing on the characters, and we saw for the first time really the new characters that were coming out, and what a good job Games Workshop have done with these models. And the Space Wolves are one of those, I mean, they're a beloved Space Marine chapter, but they're certainly one of those ranges that was really in need of a full refresh. Some of the models were looking very long in the tooth, if you pardon the pun, and with all the other major Space Marine chapters such as the Ultramarines and Dark Angels and Blood Angels getting refreshes, certainly for them major characters, and the Black Templars, of course, my favourite chapter. It was high tide that the Space Wolves got their refresh as well, and here it is. So if you love, if you've got the box set that came out about 3 weeks ago now, I think, then you'll certainly be very interested in this, and I am as well. And I'm not a Space Wolves fan in terms of they're not one of my favourite chapters or legions. I probably will never play a Space Wolves army, but I'll still be buying these just because the models are so good that I'd love to own them and collect them and paint them as well. So let's read through this article. Sunday preview: Howl with the Wolves of Fenris. Typical Games Workshop sort of cringe title that doesn't really mean anything, but let's get down to it. Let me just make sure this is on screen so you can read with me. Do you feel that chill wind? No, not really. It's bloody hot here in London, I'll tell you that. I'm sweating. It's about to get awfully frosty around these parts as the Space Wolves sweep in like Father Christmas, if Father Christmas wanted to kill you. Now I wonder whether this is a reference to Logan Grimnar, who, thank God, is getting a new model, because his old model saw him on some sort of cyber sleigh, like a ridiculous futuristic Santa Claus. A laughable model, and thank God he now has a glow up and looks a hell of a lot meaner and more menacing than his previous festive form. So I wonder if that's what they're referencing. There are new characters, new units, and a really cool codex supplement on the way. And if you prefer pursuits of a more literary nature, there's an awesome Black Library novel coming too. Let's see exactly what this week has in store. Yes, let's, because the first thing is the codex supplement, Space Wolves codex supplement. Now, if you've got the box set like I did, and I have, you will already have the Space Wolves codex supplement. That came with its own special box set, limited edition type cover, And here you have two other versions, and I have to say the just the normal version, which is this one here, is a really cool piece of artwork. I think it was yesterday, in yesterday's video, about the Black Templars Codex supplement and the cover being pretty crap, frankly. This, on the other hand, is fantastic. This guy, this Space Wolf in Terminator armour with the pelt over his shoulders and the wolves snarling around his feet. Brilliant, really evocative of what Space Wolves are about. Great piece of art. Everything in proportion. Wish I could say the same for the Black Templars. This will be the limited edition Codex. That's okay too. I actually prefer the normal edition. The only difference with the limited edition one really is that you don't have the big sort of cartoony Warhammer 40,000 logo across it, and you have this sort of gold lettering, and it'll be sort of gold edged. It'll be gold edged pages and probably a gold bookmark in it and things like that. So there's nothing really, and also it'll be a lot more expensive than the standard Codex, and you're just going to take it to the game store or to a tournament, and someone's going to spill something on it, or it'll get pretty weathered. So unless you really collect all these limited edition codexes, I don't think they're worth having really, but it's just my opinion. Anyway, the Sons of Russ. They have some truly incredible miniatures to look at, but to see them mete out their savage justice on the tabletop, you need some rules too. Rules the new Codex supplement Space Wolves has in abundance. Not only will you find updated datasheets for specialist Fenrisian units and new detachments to contain them, but there are also pages of in-depth background lore and miniatures galleries to immerse yourself in. Note that you'll require a copy of Codex Space Marines to get the full use of this product as well. So yeah, because the Space Wolves are a sort of, they're not a successor chapter, I mean that's wrong to say, but because it's a supplement, they are a chapter that adheres to the Codex Astartes to a certain degree, and so therefore has the use of all of the Space Marine units. So we're looking at intercessors, hellblasters, eradicators, etc., blade guard, but then they have their own unique, or units that are unique to the Space Wolves faction. So we've seen the head takers, the blood claws, I think is another one, etc. So the Thunderwolf cavalry, things like that. So there's a mix, and that's what they're saying here. So you will need both codexes, the Space Marine Codex and the Space Wolves Codex. But once you've put the codes that you find in the back of the book into the app, you'll see all the rules in one place in the app, and that's where the rules are always updated, because these physical books go out of date quite quickly as rules and points, values, etc. change quite regularly. So definitely use the app if you can. Moving on. Oh, almost spoiled Logan Grimnar there. You can pick up the normal hardback copy as always, but if you fancy yourself a true Space Wolf, there's always an ornate collector's edition coming alongside the regular version. It's simultaneously bold and refined, much like the Space Wolves themselves. I don't think they're that refined. I mean, they're gigantic Viking-like wolf people, they're not very refined at all. With gold foil details and page edges and a black ribbon bookmark to keep your place. So yeah, that's just what I said before. And then moving on to the big fella, formerly Santa Christmas. Or Father Christmas, whatever you want to call him, but he is now fully Logan Grimnar, chapter master of the Space Wolves, and looking pretty mean. Not sure about these wolves, and I don't think they're as well sculpted as they possibly could have been, but I do like. There's a lot to like about this model. I think I did a preview video, didn't I, on the Space Wolves, and talked about what my thoughts are of these models, but by and large, I mean, there's things I don't like about this model, like the position of both of his hands, but other than that, they've done a bloody good job with this refresh and with this range in general. So let's read about him. The High King cometh, and he cuts an imposing figure flanked by 2 loyal Fenrisian wolves. Logan Grimnar is a hero beloved across the Imperium, and a commander of surpassing skill. A commander of surpassing skill. What the hell does that mean? Surely they mean like unsurpassed skill. Able to strategize from the rear lines just as readily as he leads assaults from the front, swinging the axe Morkai and rending down entire companies of foes. This single option miniature comes on an 80mm round base and packs tons of details into every crevice of this majestic character. So 80mm round base, he's a pretty big boy. I'm guessing he's going to be quite expensive. My guess would be about £40 they'll charge for this model, at least. So that is quite pricey already, but probably worth it. I mean, I've ordered him already, so there you go. And then the next character here, Njal Stormcaller. Now, I don't like the paint job of this, as I've talked about before, and I really don't like this fucking bird thing here, with the way they've just stuck him on his shoulder. But apart from that, once you've got rid of the bird and once you've painted it slightly differently, I actually think this is a pretty cool model. And he will look better with other people's paint jobs, I'm sure. Not mine, but other people's. And the blurb here is, whip up a vicious storm as the greatest rune priest of them all, Njal Stormcaller. He uses his massive psychic might to simultaneously support allies and slay enemies, raising the elemental winds to propel his followers into combat, even as buffeting gales reduce the range of enemy weapons. Ah, so that's what he does. I haven't actually read the codex because, as I said, I don't play Space Wolf. So I've read the lore, and I'll be having a video coming out basically reading through all the lore of the codex like I did with the Emperor's Children. But I haven't really read the rules, so okay, that's what Njal Stormcaller does. He reduces the range of enemy weapons. Pretty useful, and he is on a 40mm base, a single option miniature. So, and this is a Games Workshop trend, really, that they, as the models have become more ornate, more detailed, more lifelike, I suppose, they have a reduced posability, if you like. You are essentially buying one kit that goes together in a certain way, and kit bashing and converting is not really encouraged. But I suppose that's the price we're paying for just having incredible detailed models that look far better than their forebearers did in 10, 20 years ago. Speaking of which, Arjak Rockfist, what a model. Look at this guy, menacing as fuck. Great, in his Terminator armour, brilliant model. I love it. Love the round shields as well, this sort of Viking iconic shields with all the runes on. I'm not a fan of this let's make him like Thor so he can throw his hammer. I mean, that's just crap. So I won't be building him like this. I'll be building him like this. But he looks great. As the personal champion of Logan Grimnar, Arjak Rockfist has felled countless enemies in his long career, often surprising them by hurling his deadly foe hammer like a bolt of divine lightning. He's unstoppable on the attack and immovable on the defence, decked out in a suit of tastefully decorated Terminator armour that pays homage to his past as an Iron Priest. And again, 40mm base can be assembled with foe hammer held ready or being thrown from Arjak's hand. So those really are, apart from one other unit that I think must be coming up, but those are the new ones. And then we're seeing the Wolf Priest, which came out with the box. So this isn't new, but it's the first time that a Wolf Priest is sold on its own. So I won't go over this one. We've seen it all before, and the same with the Wolfguard Battle Leader, which is again a fantastic model that came in the box set. I mean, the detail, the fur pelt, just everything about this model is fantastic. If you're anything like me, you'll build your Space Wolves helmetless, because why the fuck not? They are just crazy maniacs. So a helmet just doesn't look right, does it? Just doesn't do them justice. Is there anything worth reading here? Let's see what this says. The junior officers, known to the Space Wolves as battle leaders, are trusted sub-commanders given responsibility over several hunting packs in much the same way as other chapters' lieutenants. Each one is a worthy warrior of immense skill, tailoring their equipment to bring down the harshest foe. foes in glorious close combat. This multi-part plastic miniature comes with options for a mastercrafted power sword or thunder hammer in one hand and a heavy bolt pistol, plasma pistol or storm shield in the other. It also includes 1 helmeted and 2 unhelmeted head options, and I have to say I built mine like with this hammer, but everything else like this with the shield and that face. It just looks awesome. But it's really nice that unlike Njal Stormcaller and Logan Grimnar, this model has some options at least and some customizability, so which makes sense because you may field 2 or 3 of him in an army, so you don't want him to look you don't want them to look all the same as each other. So, but just brilliant model in my view. And then now we're moving on to another unit, and these are coming out for the first time in any form, and this is the Wolfguard Terminators. For me, these are great. I love them. I don't love some of the faces. I mean, what's going on with that face there? And even that face there is like a sort of shaved mohawk thing and long sideburns, or a kind of ancient Chinese moustache thing. I mean, I don't really get it, but these ones with the long plaited beards, the Viking aesthetic, really look great. But also the models, apart from the couple of dodgy heads, the models look absolutely awesome. I love everything about them. I'll be getting a couple of boxes of these because I think these again have options. Let's find out. The veteran Wolfguard warriors often take to the field in heavy Terminator armour adorned with trophies from their many years of service. They fight at the very tip of the spear, teleporting right into enemy lines, as unnatural as such tech weird is to their kind, and sowing death wherever they step. Okay. This multi-part plastic kit contains 5 Wolfguard Terminators who can be assembled with storm bolters or storm shields. So the storm bolter, these have all got storm bolters, or storm shields, with options for an assault cannon, and power fist on one of the miniatures, and a relic great axe or pair of lightning claws for the sergeant. That's the sergeant there with his wolf pelt, and he has got the great axe there. It also offers 5 helmeted and 13 unhelmeted heads, so at least they've put in quite a lot of head options there if you're like me and you don't like some of these heads. Great unit, great models. They really sort of convey the weight of the armour. I just love it. He's sort of hulking with the weight of the cannon. He's dragging around in his big, thick set armour. Brilliant. Love it. Absolutely love everything about them. And then the head takers, again, were in the box set. So were the Blood Claws. So were the Grey Hunters. So I won't go over those because we've all seen these again. What I will go over is the data sheets. Well, they're useful, but I actually think the app is a quicker reference tool and a more accurate one than data sheet cards. So I won't be getting those. But new Space Wolf dice, and these look great. I mean, Games Workshop again doing this thing where they just show you the packet and like a little window into what the dice look like. Not useful, thanks Games Workshop. Just show us the dice. But from what I can see, this sort of nice blue marble effect, and then like the wolf motif on the 6. They look great, so I'm going to get one set of those as well. Yeah, and this is just talking about them. 16 pearlescent blue dice dotted with gold ink on the pips and a logo on the chapter of the 6 face. See, so apparently the pips are gold. We can't see that in the photo here at all, so not helpful at all, Games Workshop. Please stop doing that. Please just show the dice. And then, not satisfied with that, Games Workshop are also releasing, another model that we were waiting for quite a long time, because this was previewed many weeks ago now, and this is the new Drop Pod model. So this is a new reimagining of the old Drop Pods. You get 2 of these in a box. A cynical person would say maybe that is a bit of a Game Workshop marketing tool to to get you to spend twice as much money on drop pods, but I would never say that. And of course, the big key thing is that whereas the old drop pods, the doors came up and down, which caused some difficulty in games as to whether you could move past or whether they could fit in spaces and whatever. These are now just modelled being fully open at all times, so there's no dispute over the extent or the footprint of the model. And they say here, slam into battle and get fighting from the word go with this pack of 2 revitalised drop pods, redesigned to be easy to build and cause fewer fights over how large they actually are. Yeah, that's what I was just saying. These new pods are built with the doors fixed downwards for easy deployment, with extra iconography included for Ultramarines, Space Wolves, Imperial Fists, Black Templars, Raven Guard, Dark Angels and Blood Angels. The kit contains 2 drop pods with extra pieces of rubble provided to accessorise their legs. I wouldn't call these legs, to be honest. I'd call them doors, but whatever. The interesting thing there, now I wasn't going to buy a drop pod, but the fact that they've said there's extra iconography for the different chapters, and we can see it here, can't we? We can see the Ultramarine logo there, I think. I think this must be what they're referring to. So there must be like panels or pieces that have icons for Imperial Fist, Black Templars, etc. So that's a nice little touch, actually. I think the key thing with this is to see what the rules are going to be. I mean, nobody knows yet what the rules are for these things. Are they still going to contain 10 Space Marines in them? Is that being reduced? Can you maybe use them to split a unit of 10 into 2 5-man squads and put them in each drop pod? Can you deep strike from turn 1 in a drop pod? These are all things that I imagine will be answered in the coming week, really, I would think, because we really need to know what these items do, what these drop pods do, before anybody will buy them. But another very interesting release from Games Workshop. Then we have an odd release. This is the Sister of Battle. Well, it's Celestine, isn't it? It's Saint Celestine, I think, statue. Now I do have this because it came with in a terrain pack. So I have a large Sister of Battle army that my girlfriend uses these days, and when I think it was in the first phase, though this is quite a few years ago now, when Sister of Battle were very first done in plastic, they came out with a terrain piece, and it's like a big Sector Imperialis. How to explain it, really? It's like it's sort of like half a building, but it's a couple of stories high. It's like a ruin, really. But with it came this statue, which is not very useful on a battlefield. You can't really hide behind it or anything. But I think it had rules with it as well. Like if you were in a certain radius, it gave you +1 to leadership or whatever it was in those days. But I noticed recently they included this in the Kill Team box. The big, I can't remember what it was called something like Zeal and Blood or something. The box set that had the Sanctifiers in it, and now they're putting it on made to order. So I don't understand why. Is this a very popular piece that people want to get, or have they just made loads of them and they want to get rid of more of them? I don't understand, but for some reason this statue is made to order this week. Fight beneath the stony splendour of an Imperial Saint with the towering shrine statue for Kill Team, a large and impressive terrain piece coming soon on a made-to-order basis. This iconic heavy terrain was last seen in the Blood and Zeal box, there you go, and is now returning to pre-orders as a standalone statue for a limited time. As a made-to-order item, the shrine statue will be available to order for 10 days beginning on Saturday the 28th of June and may take up to 180 days to arrive. Very strange. I mean, anyway, I just do not understand why they have this as a made-to-order piece. And if you wanted it, just buy the Blood and Zeal box. They're still available. But there we go. And then moving on, so those are the models for this week. But then there's quite a lot of releases from Black Library coming as well. So it's been, as I say, it's quite a big week for Warhammer really this week. And the first of which will be the final, I was going to say not final chapter, the final story, the final tale in the Dawn of Fire series. and it's called The Silent King. And this book is set, I believe, it's set during the Indomitus Crusade, just before the devastation of Baal, I think. So it will be sort of, trying to think now, when were the Plague Wars? So there's a bit of a tricky timeline, because devastation of Baal happened around the same time as the Dark Imperium trilogy and the Plague Wars. There's a bit of sort of warp shenanigans that mixes up the timeline. So, but this, I imagine, at the end of the Dawn of Fire, this sort of leads into the Pariah Nexus and the coming of the Silent King, and the revitalization of the Necrons that we saw at the start of it would have been 9th edition, wouldn't it? 8th edition was obviously the Plague Marines, Dark Imperium. 9th edition was the Necrons, was Indomitus. So we've waited. This is an odd way to tie up that, because this is now 5 years later, because we've had Leviathan, and then we're 2 years into the line. So this is 5 years after Indomitus now. We're now getting the story of the Silent King. It's very odd. The sort of timeline of releases here is quite strange, but there we are. The first phase of the Indomitus Crusade is drawing to a close, yet Rabuti Guilliman still faces war on many fronts, and his desire to cross the Great Rift and bring salvation to the Imperium Nihilus is strong. Despite this, he is drawn to the galactic south, where the Necrons are building their power within the Pariah Nexus, and whispers talk about the return of the Silent King. The final chapter of the Dawn of Fire series arrives with Guy Haley's The Silent King. Yeah. And of course, you can get the special limited edition, which cost a lot of money, and you won't be able to get it anyway, because all the scalpers will get it at 10 a.m. on Saturday. But you can get it on eBay for 2 or 3 times the price if you'd like. What I've done is order this one, because I've got the other 8 books in paperback as well. Now, the Dawn of Fire series is not the best, but it is the current lore. It is the most recent sort of 40k novel series, and along with the campaign supplements like Pariah Pariah Nexus, Armageddon, and God, my memory, and a couple of others. What are the other 2? The Nachman Gauntlet and the Tyrannic War, of course. How could anyone forget? So, along with those sort of supplemental books, which also fill in the narrative and tell us what's happening in the current timeline, the Dawn of Fire series has been the main current novel series, but not that much has happened. They're interesting, ish. They're nice to read, but particularly ones by good authors like Guy Haley and Chris Rates, but really not a great deal has happened. So let's hope that they sort of end with a bang here, and Guilliman meets the Silent King, and this is a real opportunity to have some real new lore, and maybe an epic showdown between the two of them. We can hope. Who knows? But let's see. It says that it will be released in multiple formats, including special edition with leather effects cover, rounded spine and foil text. Also has a gold ribbon bookmark, contains pieces of interior art, and has a gold gilt page edge, or gilt page edges. Each copy is numbered, signed by the author, etc. So the usual thing. But then it also coming out in paperback, ebook, and MP3 format. I'll get the audio book as well. I tend to get all the new releases on Audible, and I'll read a book, a physical book, but then if I'm out, I'll pick it up and I'll start listening to it. It's kind of nice they're well read, normally by Jonathan Keeble or somebody like that, and they're very well done. All of the Warhammer audiobooks, I have to say that. And then they're coming out in different languages, of course. And then this one, I'm not sure whether I knew about this one. This is kind of dropped out of nowhere. Paragon of Faith and Other Stories, and this is an anthology for the Sisters of Battle here, and you can see a paragon, a sister in her paragon warsuit. As I say, this is an anthology by various different authors. The battle sisters of the Adeptus Sororitas fight the enemies of the Imperium with fire and fury, galvanised by their unshakable belief in the Imperial faith. Their missions pit them against heretics, demons, and more besides. And you can read all about their exploits in Paragon of Faith and other stories. It contains 2 brand new novellas, Paragon of Faith by Amanda Bridgman and Saint's Judgment by Ness Brown, as well as the short stories Infernal Motives by Jude Reed, Our Lady of the Voyage by Kate Flack, Joy of the Martyr by Ness Brown, and Redemption Through Blood by John Solito, and The Fires of Our Faith by Nicholas Werner. You'll be able to pre-order it in hardback, and I have pre-ordered this one in hardback already. I have a few hardback sisters novels, such as The Morven Val, Pilgrims of Fire, just to name a couple off the top of my head. There's something a bit different. I love, as with the Black Templars, I love how just ridiculously zealous and single-minded and over the top this Adeptus Sororitas is. So yeah, I'll read that and enjoy it, I imagine. And then, sort of again out of nowhere, is an omnibus of Ravener, which is of course the most people have heard of the Eisenhorn trilogy. This was the follow-up trilogy, which was focused around the Inquisitor Ravener, which I haven't read, I must admit. I must get around to reading it one day. Gideon Ravener and his many operatives work for the Inquisition to wage a secret war against those that threaten the Imperium from both with and without. Both with and without. I think you mean both within and without. Again, at Games Workshop, please employ an editor, because every week there are mistakes in the copy of these articles. So please stop using ChatGPT or something and employ an editor or a copywriter. A formidable psyker in his own right, Ravener's methods may be unconventional, but his results are undeniable. This omnibus collects the novels Ravener, Ravener Returned, and Ravener Rogue, alongside the short stories Playing Patience, Thornwish's Talon, and Perihelion, all by Dan Abnett. You can pre-order it next week in paperback. 2 things I'd say about this is, one, it's not just the trilogy then. There are actually several short stories collected, so this is a really comprehensive collection of the Ravener stories. The other thing is that, having seen the Eisenhorn omnibus, this could be very small print, because when you cram in so many stories into just one title like this, sometimes it's very small print, so just be aware of that if you are going to buy it. Might be better to buy this one on ebook, where you can control the size of the print. And then yet another novel, Above and Beyond by Denny Flowers. After reporting on the legendary exploits of aerial ace commander Lucille von Schard, propagandist Kyle Simlex returns to his scribe's cubicle to waste away. A mysterious message claiming to come from von Schard is his one chance to escape, so Simlex journeys to Dayton, an imperial world in open rebellion, to find the ace pilot a haunted shadow of her former self. With a Xenos mercenary of unparalleled skill on the loose and the tide of war incoming, Simlex must help her prepare for a deadly fight or watch her suffer her final defeat. Above and Beyond by Denny Flowers will be available to pre-order in paperback next week. I don't know anything at all about this character or the story or anything, so I can only assume she's part of the sort of Imperial Guard, Air Force, and is sort of flying missions and fighting in the skies above the battlefields, above and beyond, if you will. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe there are people out there absolutely overjoyed at the next outing of Lucille von Schard, but I'm just not familiar with the character or the author, actually, to be honest. And then we have Demon Hammer, which came out quite a while ago now. The most notable thing about this novel was that it came out with the new Inquisitor Cotiers model, which was probably the worst model Games Workshop have ever produced. Absolute laughable joke of a model, and a real shame because he's such a great character. He deserved better, frankly. Inquisitor Torquemada Cotias is known for his uncompromising approach to the forces of chaos and the incredible power he wields as High Protector of the Formosa sector. What few know is that decades of battling cultists and demons have taken a heavy toll on his body, and that so-called allies cover his throne. In the darkness, even greater forces array against the Lord Inquisitor, leaving him with the choice: push past the limits of mortality, or cede his position and potentially doom millions. You can find out what becomes of Cotias in Demon Hammer by Darius Hink. So this is just the paperback release of this book that came out quite a while ago, at least sort of 6 months ago, I'd say. And then Oaths of Damnation. This is one I've seen before. So again, is this a book that came out? Yeah, it looks like this is again another one that came out several months ago, and this is the paperback version. And this is a rarity in that it is an Exorcist's novel. The Exorcists are a chapter with an uncertain sort of lineage. I think there's some contradictory as well. Games Workshop aren't always the best at continuity in their lore, and I know that in some places it says that they don't know who the Exorcists' sort of founding legion is, but it's stated, I think, in might be in the Imperial Fists Codex supplement from an edition or two ago of the probably 8th edition of the game. It states that the Exorcists are an Imperial Fists successor. So whether that's still true in this novel or whether it's referred to, who knows? You have to read it to find out, I suppose. The Space Marines of the Exorcist chapter willfully accept demonic possession before purging their souls to prevent corruption from taking hold, to better fight against the forces of chaos. This heretical approach is not without its flaws. I wouldn't have thought so, no. And those who cannot purge the demons become broken ones. When demonic conspiracy sees a broken one freed, it becomes a race against time for the hex breakers, the vanguard elite of the Exorcists, to hunt them down before this unspoken truth is revealed to the Imperium. A connection between the quarry and commander of the strike force further complicates matters in Robbie McGivern's Oaths of Damnation, which is available in paperback. Yeah, that sounds like the most ridiculous thing you could possibly do as a Space Marine, is to accept demonic possession and then purge the demon from your soul. Seems a bit unnecessary, but good luck to the Exorcists. And then we have an old world, looks like an audiobook. Yeah, you can pre-order this in MP3 or audiobook, and it's Slaves of Darkness audiobook, Archaon Everchosen. And Archaon, if you don't know, is the big bad in Warhammer Old World, or one of them anyway. He's sort of the leader of chaos, if you will. And so that's it for the releases, but my God, there's a lot this week. And then we move on to what's happening on Warhammer Plus. And the only thing that really interests me about Warhammer Plus is when is the next episode of Kill Lupercal coming, because that is an animation series that they've been showing on Warhammer Plus every sort of couple of weeks, and it's been brilliant. It's all about Titans at the Siege of Terror, and it's just really, really well done. Brilliant dialogue and story and animation. But it doesn't look like, sadly, the next episode 3, is out this week. So we'll have to wait for another week. But that is it. Pretty full on and packed release schedule for this week. I will definitely be getting the Space Wolves characters and the Terminators and a couple of the books. Will you be getting anything? Please let me know in the comments. If you're a Space Wolves player, surely you're getting something. You must be excited about this full release finally coming out. Will you be getting the books? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think about this week's releases, and I will see you in another video again very soon. Thanks, bye.